recording a couple days earlier than normal because on Monday, the 23rd, I'm gonna head to Lagos, Portugal. We have a week off, and that's where I'm gonna be. Lagos is actually maybe my favorite place I've ever traveled to. I got to go there last August. I was released in July by the Mariners, and then immediately I just went to Spain for about a month. And I stayed in Barcelona, and then at the end of the trip, I went to Lagos, Portugal. And I stayed at a little hostel, and I think everyone has, we talked about intuition, but, you walk into an environment and it either, really resonates with you or really doesn't. And as soon as I walked into this place, I was like, dang, I like whatever's going on here. And the first song that I heard in the hostel, because there was a speaker that was playing throughout the hostel, was from my favorite band, Krungbin. And I just took that as a sign, a little synchronicity, as far as oh, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. And, there wasn't any, the special part about Lagos is just the feeling that arose when I was there. And so, with a week off, why not head back? And one thing that I've come to realize in the last few years is that we have these first experiences of anything. First experience in Lagos, you could have your first experience playing at a particular stadium. You could have your first experience at a restaurant, whatever it may be. And it elicits some type of feeling out of you or within you. And I think it's easy to get caught up, at least I used to get caught up in when I would go back there, I want the same feeling. I want to repeat this feeling that I had. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, oh no, it's never going to be the same as the first experience. It'll never be the same as the first experience. So to go back somewhere or to something and be like, oh, I want this to be the same way it felt the first time, never going to be that way. Now you could flip that and think, I guess for myself, when I go back to Lagos, it's I know I'm not going to feel the exact same way that I felt when I went a year ago because I'm not in the same place, mentally, spiritually, whatever. But I know that this place, Lagos, has some type of, you could call it magic in it that resonates with me. So while it's not going to elicit the same feeling within me, it'll elicit a feeling, and I'm pretty confident that the feeling that comes from it is going to be one of, positivity. And so that's kind of why I chose to go back. And you could always choose to keep that first experience the way it is and not try to even repeat it or not try to even go see it again because of how special the first time was. And that's super valid too. And I had that thought oh, maybe I'll just leave it the way it is and really give it an extended amount of time before I go back. But no, it's too special, too cool of a place. And I'm staying at the same hostel. And, when I do these trips, I don't really plan much out at all. The only thing I planned out this time is that I'm going to go surfing for the first time. I've been to Australia, Bali, I guess you could say Barcelona, people surf there, coast of California. I've been to all these places. Never tried surfing. Portugal last year. So, yeah, this time around, I'm going to go surfing and see how that treats me. So, other than that, it's work out and lay on the beach, and that's about it for me. That's the simplicity, which kind of takes us right into the word that I chose for the week, which is eudaimonia, spelled Eudaimonia, eudaimonia. It's an adjective, and the definition is a contented state of being happy, healthy, and prosperous, often translated as human flourishing or the good life. So, okay, one more time. A contented state of being happy, healthy, and prosperous, often translated as a human flourishing or the good life. And so, as I dove into, this word and relating it back to what I just spoke about in terms of like going to Lagos and I'm just going to work out and lay on the beach, go surfing, And if I like it, I'll go surfing again. But it comes down to like a state of simplicity. And, we live in a very complex world, not to be like every other person with a mic in their hand. Not a lot of people have a mic in their hand and a spatula. So maybe one of one there. But it's very complex. We have all this different technology that adds a complexity to life itself. And so for me, as I always reflect back to the intention I set for the start of the year, which was like, okay, I want to simplify and I want to grow. Okay, so it's kind of paradoxical in the fact that like I want to contract, but I want to expand through that contraction, which essentially comes to like the ability to say no. Am I comfortable enough to say no and enter this state of refining the people that I spend time around, the places that I go, the things that I do, the habits that I have. And that comes from a state of saying no, refining those things, and really coming to like, oh, what makes me happy? For instance, working out and laying on a beach, and it doesn't need to be any more complex than that. As I travel more and more, I kind of observe the tourists that go by, and I'm a tourist too. But like a lot of it, what I see is just a lot of like people going, snapping a couple photos, on to the next thing. Going, snapping a couple photos, on to the next thing. And it's almost like you're traveling in a rush to get all these things done. But isn't the point of traveling and like going somewhere to elicit some state out of you that is maybe particular to that place? It could be Lagos or some type of like simplified state. Why would you travel to go add complexity to your life? That doesn't make sense to me. Like for instance, here in Germany, I don't have a beach. There's no beach here. I like the beach. So, okay, I'm going to go to the beach when I have time. That's simple. But we have all these complexities, and it's like, I think of it as the instance of, you could use the example of someone who works like a 9 to 5 and they're in this stable environment, right? Okay, well, innately there becomes like boredom within the mundane. So you add a dog to the mix. You get a dog. You add a layer of complexity in order to keep yourself entertained. And then you add a kid. Then you have a kid. Add another layer of complexity. Then you buy a house and have a mortgage. Another layer of complexity. So it's like all these layers of complexities just to, isn't it all just to find happiness and purpose? So as I like dove into this word eudaimonia, it came from the simplification of saying no. And as you continue to refine, the yeses that come from that refinement are much stronger and they're like exponential. Like they hold just like a stronger power within the decision. And I have been working throughout the year to just continue to refine the people that I give energy to, the habits that I have, the decisions that I make. And I think from that simplicity, I've just come to realize how it was always supposed to be simple. Like life is supposed to be simple. And the origin point of all that simplicity is always nature. It's always like, can I get back to nature in order to like kind of align myself with the natural pace that the world moves at? Because the natural pace that the world moves at, I promise you, is not inside of a city. That's like not natural at all. So eudaimonia, the good life, or, human flourishing, as I dove into like the history of how it was thought of by, I guess you could call it like philosophers past, was all of them spoke about tuning in to nature and like simplifying this complex world that we make it so complex, right? Like, oh, I'm going to get a phone. Okay, well, now you just added a layer of complexity. I have all these apps or the Apple Watch that makes my life easier, but like does it make it easier? You just got a new thing on your wrist that just says more things. I don't know. That's just where I'm coming from. I'm just a guy with a mic and a spatula, so who knows? But eudaimonia is the word that we had for the week, and it all relates back to traveling, and I'm just going to go work out in the mornings and lay on the beach and surf a couple times. And the nice part about this hostel is they have a kitchen, so I like to make my own food, You got to pick and choose your battles when you travel. Every once in a while, when I go eat, okay, I'll go eat a nice dinner, but I don't need to go out and eat every meal because that's just not where I want to spend my resources, So as we continue to, progress, it's like, what can be simplified in your own life? I know I kind of look at that almost daily. Like, what can I cut out? And as I write more and more, it's like I'll write the first draft. For instance, like the writing that I put on the school community every week, which you can find in my Instagram bio. It's free to join. But the writing that I put every week, I'll put a first draft, okay? Then I'll reread it, and it's like, how many words can I cut out that are just not important to what I'm trying to portray in this piece? That's just a microcosm for what we do on a daily basis, which is like, oh, what can I cut out that is not important to my well-being, happiness, and like connection between mind and body? And you just start to realize, man, there's a lot of things that I just have for kind of no reason other than to just add some complexity to what is supposed to be so simple. And it's always just the continual phase of refinement, one day after the next. That's not to say that like I don't go do things that add complexity to my life, and then I go back and I'm like, all right, well, how can I, kind of simplify it back down? Because I'm human. The question that that's kind of a hard cut onto the next thing. That's all I had on that one. The question from last episode, I talked a lot about intuition the past couple weeks, and I shared a story last week about trusting my own intuition. And the question was a time you trusted your intuition and it kind of showed up in the long run. You didn't get that instant gratification, but in the long run, it showed up and was like, hey, good job trusting yourself. So I'm curious as to what you guys might have come up with, because everyone's got such a strong intuition. If you just tune into it and trust it, it's never going to lead you the wrong way. Only when you choose to ignore it and let the conscious mind come into play, that's when we add complexities to what is supposed to be simple. And so I'll add one more story to this intuition bit. And that actually reverts back to when I was in Portugal the first time. I was laying on the beach, and I was watching the clouds just like pass one after another. Just coming across my frame, from left to right, and they're moving slowly. And I'm thinking, okay, well, at that point I thought I was done playing baseball. Here we are, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Okay, well, I want to travel. I know that. And what do I want to get into? So, okay, how can I travel and how can I like support myself? Okay, so I I went back and I actually got yoga teacher certified through Core Power, which was like a 10-week course, which was amazing. So I thought I was going to be a yoga teacher. Okay, but then I also bought a course online of kind of how to like market yourself online. Not so much in the podcasting realm, but like become a remote coach essentially. And I learned a ton in that program. And what I thought I was going to do was just be a remote baseball coach. And as I started to put up content around it, I hated it. I was like, I feel not creative. It feels like a job. I didn't like it. Okay, but I was going to push through because I paid money to do this course. And it was more about the umbrella of what you're learning than the specific thing. And then one day I'm in the shower, which is where all the best thoughts come. It's a shower or the toilet, one of the two. That's where thinking gets done for real. And it like just hit me. It was like, oh no, what helped you the most was like creating a mind-body connection and tuning into the breath. Because, I've shared this story, but like the Wim Hof breathing is like what changed my entire career and my life. And a lot of people ride by on their bikes outside here with speakers. Like big, like, people do that at the beach all the time. That's just like they just do it at the park out here. So I don't know if you guys can hear that guitar. Also, the guy above me plays guitar every once in a while. He's pretty good. But regardless, and it always stops at a reasonable hour, that's really nice. It's like 10 o'clock, right when you start thinking like, okay, that's enough guitar for the night. Boom, it's off. So respectful. Thank you. But, middle of the day, he can play all he wants. Anyways, I have the shower thought, and I'm like, oh no, what I want to do is help people with, what helps shift my career and my life and what resonates with me, which is like breath work. And I already have this yoga teacher certification, and I'll blend it in some way. And it was like such a strong feeling in my body. And I actually went to the guy who was running the remote coaching course and kind of told him what I wanted to do. And he was thrown off because he was like, dude, that's a big shift. Like, you want to go from being a baseball coach to this and that. And obviously he couldn't have possibly understood the depth to how much that helped me in my life and my career. But it was like a feeling of intuition. Like, no, this is what it is. So, I just followed it, kind of shifted right away, and immediately felt more inspired with the creative process, and also felt less like I feel zero obligation to I feel zero obligation to do it. It's just fun to create in that way, to talk into this mic on a spatula, like it's just, and sharing experiences and how it all ultimately connects back to, the spirit, the breath, mind, body, all of these things that people have followed for thousands of years that we've essentially become out of tune with, and it's starting to come back into tune. And I know it changed my life and my career, so that's kind of where that intuition led. And next thing you know, I'm out in Australia playing. I go to Bali. I meet a woman in Bali who teaches me about somatics, and the only way I would have met her is my interest in breath work and like the studies, the research that I had done and what I was starting to put together for other athletes. And the opportunity to work with athletes in that realm is like so cool, because you're seeing a different side of an athlete. We're not talking about with the proper footwork to field a ground ball, which I could tell you plenty about, and that's an art in itself. But it's more so like the intricacies of, aligning your mind and body to work as one, so that when you go out there and play baseball, you're creating every time and not repeating, which is the same as we go back to that first experience. Okay, if you're trying to repeat, which is I hear all these coaches talk about repeat, repeat, repeat. It's like, how could you possibly repeat something? In order to repeat, every single variable would have to be the exact same. It would be impossible. It's not. It never works that way. We have a passing moment every single moment. So to repeat something, you're confining someone or something to a box. Okay, so we could switch that verbiage. And I learned this from a woman who's a sports psychologist at Arizona State, which I only meet her if I follow this intuition of trying to pursue mastery of the breath and of a mastery within, like, mind-body connection and whatever it may be. I only meet her if I go down this avenue that I'm on now, which I'm, every day is like I'm reaping the benefits of my intuition from that sense. But it comes back to, I hear all these coaches saying repeat, repeat, repeat. It's like, no. Create. Like, okay, yeah, we're trying to take another good swing, but the ball's going to be in a different place at a different speed. It's a different moment, so innately you feel different. And so let's just create another, good swing. Don't repeat. Repeat is just, it's a word that's just like so confining. It's actually really nice to listen to the guy play a little guitar as I'm talking. I have buddies who are firefighters, for instance, and it's like, okay, I imagine that you have a set of protocols when you get to a certain location in order to how to take the hose out, how to get out of the car, how to do all these things. Okay, then once you're actually in it, every fire at every house is different, right? And I have no expertise on this. I'm just making assumptions. But every fire is different, so we can't repeat the same steps, the exact same steps that we took last time. We can repeat like some of the protocols that get us into the right environment to take place. So the same steps as far as like going back to Lagos. Okay, but then the scenarios that arise in this fire are going to be different every single time. So yes, by training all of these steps one after another and refining our skill sets, you're essentially refining your intuition and trusting the feeling that arises when, okay, we need to make this adjustment at this time in order to save this building or this person. And so that's where I hear a lot of these people talk about repeat, repeat, repeat. It's like, no, it's never repeat. It's always create. It's always create because it's always different every single time. And it kind of comes down to like, who are you in whatever field? Who are you choosing to learn from? A lot of people that I see push the narrative of like repeat, repeat are people who get a lot of their expertise from just like textbooks with essentially zero experience of whatever is within that sport or field. It's a lot of like, well, I read this textbook about psychology, so that, this is, I'll put you into this box and we'll do this. Which is a bigger issue happening in sports right now, is the lack of like help that athletes have when it comes to creating space, because they're hiring people who like just got a degree and read some textbooks, but zero experience when it comes to like personal pursuit of mastery within that sport specifically, or within, I don't know, like I'm making a big assumption here, but I hear it from my teammates or ex-teammates or friends in professional baseball all the time. And I was a part of it, was like, dude, who are you going to talk to? You're just going to talk to someone who got a degree from, Phoenix Online University, and I'm going to tell them how I'm feeling, and they're going to be like, yeah, that's valid to feel that way. And then where do we go from there? We have zero tangible tools. So who are you choosing to learn from? Because, you have to learn from someone. But I for the end of time, will choose to learn from someone who, dang, he's really playing that guitar. I will choose to learn from someone who has experience in some field of difficulty. You know, they've dealt with real world difficulties or like pursuits, and now they've gained this understanding through experience. And so that, you know, it comes down to who you're choosing to learn from in any field, in anything. Like, are you going to choose to learn how to play the guitar from some guy who read a bunch of books on how to play the guitar? Or are you going to learn the guitar from the guy up there that I can hear jamming out? I'm going to choose him every day of the week, even if he's never read one book on the guitar. He's got like that muscle memory in his fingers, and it's, you know, there is a skill to coaching, obviously, because I've been around some of the like best players to play the game of baseball. And I've been around some who are really proficient in communication and the skills of coaching, and some who like were so good at it that they literally don't know how they did it, which is beautiful. Like they were just in a flow state all the time because it was, you know, their true life's purpose to play this sport. But when they try to explain how they did these things, it's like they don't know. I've literally been a part of it. You know, one of the coolest things ever was getting to hit with Barry Bonds. You know, when I was a kid, shout out Jeffrey Lee. He met Barry Bonds on an airplane, and then Barry Bonds flew to Seattle. Yes, Barry Bonds, the home run king, flew to Seattle to hit with Jeffrey Lee and I. We were probably 10 years old. And they shut down the batting cage. No one was allowed in. It was just me, Jeffrey, our parents, and Barry Bonds. And we hit for like 4 hours. And then we went out to the Met Grill afterwards. I'll never forget. I'm like 10 years old. I'll never forget this. We get there early, and we're sitting at a table that you can't see the front door from. And we're kind of just sitting there waiting. All of a sudden, the restaurant goes like dead silent. Like you hear like the forks and spoons like drop onto the table. And from around the corner walks Barry Bonds, and everyone knows who it is, and they're like staring like, what? And he comes and he sits down right across from me. I'll never forget that feeling of like everyone's eyes were on our table for the next 2 hours, and we sat and ate steak with Barry Bonds after we just hit for like 4 hours. And talk about experience. I'll never forget, he gets into this cage, and I don't know if anyone, maybe you remember the old iron mics for all the baseball players out there. The old iron mics, they're these old pitching machines. And he takes one of our bats with his back hand, so his left hand, and he's hitting baseballs with his left hand at God knows how hard he was hitting them. One after another, just boom, boom, boom. And he kept getting closer and closer to the machine, like one step, just whapping these baseballs. And that's one of my takeaways from hitting with him. And the other one was he said he never, ever tried to hit the top of the cage. Ever. And we hit with him for 4 hours, but we played this little game with line drives, all these different things. And it was just, how incredible is that? But talk about a person who did it at, the greatest to ever do it, hitting. And he was able to explain it to 10-year-olds so it made sense. Talk about, like, the ability to coach. And now he helps the Giants. He's always around the Giants now. But when you're exposed to those type of teachers at such a young age, the bar is set. Pretty high. I guess that's the first time I had thought about this in terms of, like, the bar for I guess, expectation of coaching. But, like, when Barry Bonds is spending 4 hours with you at 10 years old in the cage showing you how to hit, where are you supposed to go from there? That's actually a perfect question to end the episode with. Who's your favorite coach that you've ever had? Could be in anything. Who's your favorite coach that you've ever had? And I would go one further. When you think of that person, even if you haven't talked to him in a long time, maybe send him a text, call him. Calling's always better than sending a text. Call him or write a letter and just thank him for being your favorite coach. Your favorite coach you've ever had. And that concludes this episode of A Thought Experiment.